Chapter 3444. In the Barbarian Alliance, the original members of the barbarian tribe had left long ago. The remaining members were all skyprides from other tribes. When Lu Ming looked over, these skyprides exchanged glances and cupped their fists at the same time. "We're willing to submit to the Dragon Alliance." "Great, then stay in Fengyun Mountain from now on. The ratio of primordial divine crystals submitted will be the same as the rest of the Dragon Alliance," Lu Ming said. As for those in the Dragon Alliance who wanted to attack Bo Yi and the others, he was too lazy to deal with them. In this world, there was no such thing as loyalty. Everyone was just a partner and a passerby. Once they left, no one could control each other. As long as these people could help Lu Ming gather primordial divine crystals, Lu Ming could not be bothered with them. Then, Lu Ming gave the order to integrate Fengyun Mountain. The entire Fengyun Mountain belonged to Lu Ming and became the 12th famed mountain to be unified. Alliance leader, you killed 3 deputy mountain masters of Mount Chi Tong. Be careful of the mountain master of Mount Chi Tong's revenge. At this moment, Bo Yi flew over with a grave expression. "Oh, the mountain master of Mount Chi Tong? How's his strength?" Lu Ming asked. "Very strong. Although he's also a peak divine king, his primordial divine body has already reached the 9th transformation. He's far stronger than Man Ku and the others. He can definitely kill them easily," Bo Yi said. "9th transformation?" Lu Ming muttered. His ancient divine body had also reached the 9th transformation and was at the peak of the 9th transformation. If he cooperated with Qiu, he might be able to fight against the mountain master of Mount Chi Tong. However, 30 years later, the legendary 14th famed mountain will be opened. Therefore, all the leaders of the famed mountains are cultivating in seclusion, trying their best to increase their strength so that they can obtain a great opportunity when the 14th famed mountain open. Bo Yi said. "The 14th famed mountain? There are 14 more famed mountains?" Lu Ming was stunned when he heard that. "Aren't there only 13 famed mountains?" "Alliance leader, you haven't heard of them?" Bo Yi was surprised. Lu Ming shook his head. This was the first time he had heard of 14 famed mountains. The 14th famed mountain is very special. It's completely different from the other famed mountains. It's been sealed all year round and will only be opened after a long period of time. Once it opens, outsiders can get in. The 14th famed mountain is different from the other famed mountains. There are big opportunities and opportunities there. I heard that someone once brought out the fresh blood of the original God Spirit. That person successfully broke through the limit of the 9th transformation of the original God body and stepped into another unfathomable level. He condensed a drop of the original God Spirit's blood in his body and transformed his God body, Bo Yi explained. Ancient divine ancient divine body. Lu Ming's pupils shrank. Divine too. Fresh. Blood Ming. This was definitely a precious treasure for those who practiced the primitive divine body, and its effects were hard to imagine. Lu Ming was surprised. If that was the case, it would be explosive news. Bo Yi shook her head. There isn't a living primordial divine body, but there are a few theories. One is that a primordial divine body was nurtured in the 14th famed mountain, but something happened before it was fully matured. The primordial divine body died and left behind fresh blood. Due to the special location, the blood was preserved and kept fresh. Another theory is that a primordial divine body returned to the 14th famed mountain and sealed his blood in it. However, there are many different theories and it's hard to find a unified theory. I see. Lu Ming nodded. In truth, there are many mountain sovereigns whose cultivations could have broken through to the Divine Lord realm long ago. But, in order to wait for the 14th mountain to appear, they suppressed their cultivations and stayed here because they wanted to obtain the great lucky chances within, Bo Yi explained. Lu Ming nodded. He could understand. Normally, the primordial divine body would reach the 9th transformation and that would be the limit. If one wanted to break through to the next level, they would have to condense a drop of real primordial divine body's blood. Then, the primordial divine body would break through and become closer to the primordial divine body's constitution. Their strength would be terrifyingly strong. However, it was too difficult to cultivate by oneself. Once one obtained a drop of primordial divine body's blood and refined it, it would be much easier to condense one's own blood with the help of the blood. The mountain master of Mount Chitong, Dongfang Q, has been in seclusion. However, if he hears that the 3 deputy mountain masters have been killed, he might come out and find trouble with you, Bo Yi said worriedly. According to the rules, he can't just barge into Fengyun Mountain, Lu Ming said. Now that the guardian of the barbarian tribe had left, there would definitely be a new guardian who would handle things impartially. According to the rules, he can't come in and interfere with the internal affairs of Fengyun Mountain. However, he can challenge you in the name of settling a personal grudge. The guardian won't care, Bo Yi said. Oh, it's fine. During this period, I'll be in seclusion. Once Dongfang Q comes to challenge me, use this jade token to inform me. After speaking, Lu Ming took out a jade token and dripped a drop of blood on it. The jade token flashed and the drop of blood disappeared. When the time comes, you just have to crush this jade token. Even if I'm in seclusion, I'll be able to sense it, Lu Ming said. All right. Bo Yi nodded and kept the jade token. Lu Ming headed towards the gap that led to the interior of the famed mountain alone. The eruption of primordial divine qi had basically ended and there was no one around. Lu Ming looked around and when he realized that there was no one around, he rushed into the gap and took out the purple copper coffin before flying down. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the bottom and sat down with his legs crossed. The purple copper coffin floated above Lu Ming's head and released a special aura to block off the pressure from outside. Then, 4 storage rings appeared in Lu Ming's hand. These 4 storage rings were obtained from the hands of Man Ku, Lin Xin, and the others. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. Man Ku was needless to say. Lin Xin and the others were the deputy mountain masters of Chitong Mountain, so they didn't have to condense their own primordial divine crystals. How many primordial divine crystals had they accumulated after so many years? Lu Ming opened the storage rings and checked them one by one. Even though he was mentally prepared, Lu Ming's heart still thumped violently after checking them. He was rich, he was really rich. Man Ku had only been in charge of the Barbarian League for a short period of time, but there were more than 2 million primordial divine crystals in his storage ring. The main reason was that there were many people. There were more than 10,000 people in the Barbarian League and none of them could condense 1 primordial divine crystal in a month. If one handed in 90%, they would have to hand in at least 10 primordial divine crystals. 10,000 people would have to hand in 100,000 primordial divine crystals in a year. Therefore, Man Ku had accumulated more than 2 million primordial divine crystals over the years. Chapter 34-45. The most shocking ones were Lin Xin and the other 2. The 3 of them were deputy mountain masters of Mount Chitong, so their share was naturally not that high. However, they had been here for at least 1,000 years, or even tens of thousands of years. Each of them had tens of millions of primordial divine crystals in their storage rings. The 3 of them added up to more than 30 million crystals. They were rich. The primordial divine crystals were of great use to Lu Ming. Not only did he need to cultivate, but he also planned to refine the Dark Ape fighting tribe after leaving this place. He would use the primordial divine liquid to transform the Dark Ape fighting tribe so that they could cultivate the primordial divine body. However, cultivation would definitely require primordial divine crystals. Otherwise, the progress would be too slow. Only with primordial divine crystals would he be able to progress rapidly. The more primordial divine crystals he had, the better. After tidying up, Lu Ming was in a good mood. After a while, Lu Ming adjusted his state of mind and began to meditate. All of a sudden, Lu Ming entered a wonderful state. His body seemed to be wrapped in a layer of warm energy. It was extremely comfortable. It was as if he was the primordial divine spirit that was being nurtured. In this mysterious state, his understanding of the primordial divine power factor and the primordial divine power factor increased rapidly. In 30 years, the 14th famed mountain would open. It contained the fresh blood of the primordial divine spirit and other opportunities. Lu Ming was also tempted. He did not want to miss it. However, the mountain masters of the famed mountains were not easy to deal with. Each one was stronger than the last. According to Bo Yi, some of the mountain masters were too strong. Before this, there were a total of 11 mountain masters. Without a doubt, they were the 11 strongest people in this world. As for the mountain master of Mount Qitong, Dongfang Qiu, he was ranked 11th. He was the weakest among the 11 mountain masters. Lu Ming had no confidence in dealing with those people. He had to improve his strength. Lu Ming controlled 11 types of primordial divine power. Naturally, he could not comprehend them all at once. He had to comprehend them one by one. First, Lu Ming began to comprehend the Overlord Spear. Initially, Lu Ming had the deepest understanding of the sovereign's divine power. However, over the past few years, Lu Ming had been using the tyrannical deity spear the most and was the most comfortable with it. The more he used it, the deeper his understanding. Gradually, he surpassed the sovereign's divine power. From the very beginning, Lu Ming's comprehension of the Hegemon King's mystic power increased by leaps and bounds. The Overlord's godly power was progressing from the Third Awakening to the Fourth Awakening at an astonishing speed. It had only been a year, but Lu Ming's body was emitting an even denser ancient aura. The Overlord Spear's power was incomparably dazzling, covering Lu Ming's entire body, transforming into countless tiny spear lights that swam about. I've broken through. I've really broken through. I've awakened 4 times. Lu Ming was ecstatic. Originally, although his comprehension of the Overlord Spear Force was the deepest, he had only broken through to the Third Awakening not too long ago. If he wanted to achieve the Fourth Awakening, he did not know how long it would take. But now, in just a year's time, Lu Ming's Overlord Spear Force had already awakened 4 times. This speed was simply too terrifying. This was simply cheating. Continue. Lu Ming kept the Overlord Spear Force and began to comprehend the Sovereign's godly power. In about a year's time, the Sovereign's godly power had another breakthrough, reaching the Fourth Awakening. Then, it was the Moon godly power. The speed of his cultivation was too shocking. On average, the various godly powers would break through once in a little more than a year. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming already had 9 godly powers that had awakened 4 times. There were only 2 godly powers left. By the time Lu Ming had been here for 13 years, the remaining 2 godly powers had also awakened 4 times. At this time, Lu Ming's 11 godly powers had all awakened 4 times, causing his strength to skyrocket. Now, although my cultivation is still in the 7th layer of the God King realm, my godly power should not be weaker than those peak God Kings who have awakened 4 times. Lu Ming revealed a confident smile. Previously, his godly power had only awakened 3 times. Against those peak God Kings who had awakened 4 times, he was at a disadvantage. His cultivation was weak to begin with, and his origin godly power was weak. Even if he activated the battle formula to increase his fighting strength by 5 times, it was still not enough to make up for the difference. He still needed to work together with Chocho to make up for the difference. But now, in terms of cultivation and godly power, he was not at a disadvantage. Now, let's start to comprehend the origin secret technique. Let's see if I can comprehend the origin secret technique with the remaining godly powers. Lu Ming pondered. He had awakened a total of 6 origin secret techniques. They were the Sovereign's Gate, Overlord Spear, Void-Shattering Sword, Moon of Moon, Son of Great Yang, and Primordial Divine Dragon Horn. There were still 5 godly powers that had not awakened the origin secret technique. They were the Demonic Path godly power, Wind Annihilation godly power, Profound Heavenly godly power, Heavenly Evil godly power, and Divine Eye godly power. First, Lu Ming comprehended the Demonic Path godly power. It was very difficult to awaken the origin secret technique. Every godly power seemed to be shrouded in layers of fog. It was impossible to see or touch them. But in such an environment, there seemed to be a mysterious power that pushed aside the fog, allowing Lu Ming to see the essence of each godly power. In just a month, Lu Ming succeeded. Demonic Qi filled the air. A stone-made saber that was filled with demonic Qi floated above Lu Ming's head. This was the origin secret technique awakened by the Demonic Path godly power, the heavenly demon blade. Lu Ming held the heavenly demon blade and slashed out. A vast saber light slashed at a wall. With a clang, sparks flew. Of course, the wall here was not something that Lu Ming could break. He did not even leave a mark. But Lu Ming was already very satisfied. The heavenly demon blade's attack power was very strong. It possessed the domineering might of the demonic path. Then the second one is the wind annihilation godly power. Lu Ming put away the heavenly demon blade and began to comprehend the wind annihilation godly power. This kind of cheat-like cultivation environment could only be encountered by chance. Lu Ming did not want to waste any time. He seized every bit of time to cultivate. Another month passed. The origin secret technique of the wind annihilation godly power was awakened. A pair of stone-made boots appeared, surrounded by a gentle breeze that was filled with destructive power. Wind annihilation boots was the name of this origin secret technique. Let's test its power. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The wind annihilation boots flew to his feet and fused with them. Swish. Lu Ming's heart stirred. His figure burst out, turning into a light shadow. With amazing speed, he appeared thousands of miles away. What amazing speed! Lu Ming was overjoyed. When he used the wind annihilation boots, his speed would increase tremendously. If he used it with the Garuda technique, his speed would increase even more. The origin secret techniques that he had awakened previously were mostly offensive. He had enough offensive means. Now that an auxiliary origin secret technique had appeared, he was naturally overjoyed. Although the primordial divine dragon horn did not look like an offensive origin secret technique, he had not discovered its specific profundity. Moreover, he felt that the wind annihilation boots was not only fast, but also filled with destructive power. Its attack power was also very shocking. Chapter 34-46. There are still 3 types of divine power that have yet to awaken their origin source secret techniques. I hope that these 3 types of divine power can awaken auxiliary origin source secret techniques. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. To be honest, he had more than enough offensive origin source secret techniques. It was more than enough. Sometimes, support-type origin secret techniques could be of great use. For example, the Wind Destroyer boots could save his life at critical moments. Lu Ming was about to continue cultivating when his expression changed slightly. He waved his hand, and a jade token appeared in his hand. The jade token was shining. Bo Yi is looking for me. It seems that Dongfang Qiu, the leader of the Chitong Mountain, has come out of seclusion. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Humph, then let's end this quickly. I'll come back to cultivate after I finish off this Dongfang Qiu. Lu Ming snorted coldly. Then, he soared into the sky and flew upward. The foot of the mountain at the west side of Fengyun Mountain was crowded with people. A young man in a fiery red robe sat cross-legged on a piece of green rock, blocking the entrance of Fengyun Mountain. This person was the leader of the Chitong Mountain, Dongfang Qiu. He had been in seclusion previously. When he came out of seclusion, he heard that 3 of his deputy leaders had been killed. He was furious and charged to Fengyun Mountain. Of course, he could not kill wantonly in Fengyun Mountain because the new guardian had stopped him. He could only block the entrance of Fengyun Mountain and challenge Lu Ming. The people of the Dragon Alliance were looking at Dongfang Qiu on Fengyun Mountain. There was also a large number of people outside Fengyun Mountain. Some of them were from the Chitong Mountain, and some were from other famous mountains. They had all heard that Dongfang Qiu was going to challenge the leader of the Dragon Alliance and had rushed over to watch the show. Where's Lu Ming? Ask him to come out and die. A young man from the Chitong Mountain shouted. His roar was like thunder. We've said that our leader is in seclusion. If you want to fight, wait until he comes out. Bo Yi replied. Humph, I think he's scared. He's a coward and doesn't dare to fight our leader. That's why he's hiding. The young man from the Chitong Mountain sneered mockingly. Bo Yi and the others had ugly expressions and did not reply. If Lu Ming doesn't come out, we'll block the entrance of Fengyun Mountain. You guys can stay in Fengyun Mountain for the rest of your lives. The young man from Chi Tongshan said coldly. Although they couldn't kill their way into Fengyun Mountain, If the people from Fengyun Mountain came out, there would be no restrictions. They could attack as they wished. Have you sent a message to the Alliance Master? Someone in the Dragon Alliance asked Bo Yi in secret. I've sent a message. I believe the Alliance Master will be here soon, Bo Yi said. Even if he did, it would still be dangerous. Dongfang Qiu has been guarding Mount Chitong for many years and is extremely powerful. Would the Alliance leader be a match for him? That's right. In this world, apart from the other 10 mountain masters, no one can defeat Dongfang Qiu. Many of the Dragon Alliance members looked worried. Relatively speaking, the treatment that Dragon Alliance gave was the best. They didn't want Lu Ming to be killed just like that. When the Alliance Master arrives, we'll persuade him to bear with it and not accept the challenge. Dongfang Qiu can't do anything about it. We'll stay in Fengyun Mountain and cultivate in peace. I don't believe that Dongfang Qiu will be stuck here forever. That's right. Let's persuade the Alliance Master later. Many people were discussing this matter. The Alliance Master is here. Suddenly, someone shouted. Everyone looked in the same direction. In that direction, a young man was walking in the air. If it wasn't Lu Ming, who else could it be? Soon, Lu Ming arrived in front of Bo Yi and the rest. Lu Ming, you're finally here. Dongfang Qiu stood up and a powerful aura burst out. His body was covered in flames and the temperature was so high that it distorted the void. You're Dongfang Qiu? Lu Ming said calmly. That's right. Dongfang Qiu replied. Why did you bring your men and surround my Fengyun Mountain? You're disturbing our cultivation. Do you know that my time is very precious? Lu Ming said loudly. After witnessing the heaven-defying cultivation effects in Fengyun Mountain, Lu Ming wished that he could stay in there all the time. His time was really precious. However, Dongfang Qiu thought that Lu Ming was humiliating him. He was so angry that the flames on his body trembled. Lu Ming, you've killed 3 of my deputy mountain masters. Now, I'm officially challenging you. Come out and fight. Dongfang Qiu shouted. So you want to fight? Come on, cut the crap. After saying that, Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed out. Alliance Master, many people from the Dragon Alliance were stunned. They wanted to persuade Lu Ming to bear with it. However, before they could say anything, Lu Ming rushed out impatiently as if he was in a hurry. The moment he rushed out, Lu Ming condensed the Overlord God Spear in his hand. When he saw Dongfang Qiu just now, he had already activated the battle formula. Now, he had successfully activated the battle formula to increase his combat strength by 5 times. Boom! The Overlord God Spear pressed down on Dongfang Qiu like a mountain. The void shook violently as if it was being squeezed by something. Then, it swept to both sides like water. Heavenly Fire Bow. Dongfang Qiu roared and the flames on his body burned even brighter. At the same time, a fiery red bow appeared in his hand. He pulled the bowstring and a fiery red arrow pierced through the void and flew towards Lu Ming. Its speed was shocking. Boom! The fiery red arrow collided with the Overlord God Spear. There was a loud explosion as if the sun had exploded. Scorching flames spread in all directions. The Overlord God Spear shook and pushed the flames away. A bow-type origin source secret skill? No, it's just an ordinary origin source secret skill. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. At this moment, Dongfang Qiu continued to attack. His divine power surged and the bow grew rapidly. With a buzzing sound, more than 10 huge arrows flew towards Lu Ming. A terrifying whistling sound reverberated in the void. The temperature between heaven and earth rose rapidly. Lu Ming brandished the Overlord God Spear and attacked. At the same time, the Gate of Domination and the Voidbreaker Sword appeared and attacked Dongfang Qiu from 2 other directions. Dongfang Qiu's eyes turned cold. He waved his hand and the arrows quickly changed directions. They turned in the air and blocked the Gate of Domination and the Voidbreaker Sword. Dongfang Qiu was indeed a peerless genius. He had cultivated an ordinary origin source secret skill to the point where it was no weaker than an origin source secret skill. The bowstring vibrated continuously. This time, hundreds of arrows shot towards Lu Ming. Divine Dragon Dharma Body. Lu Ming took a step forward. 99 nine-clawed divine dragons appeared between heaven and earth. They pounced and blocked all the arrows. If it had been before, it would not have been so easy for him to block because Dongfang Q had obviously awakened 4 times. But now, Lu Ming's 11 types of divine power had also awakened 4 times. Although his cultivation was 2 levels lower, he still blocked all the arrows. No need to test me. Get serious. I don't have time to waste with you, Lu Ming said coldly. He became one with his spear and broke through 2 arrows. He charged towards Dongfang Q. Dongfang Q's expression changed. His body flashed and he retreated tens of thousands of meters. Chapter 34-47. Not bad. No wonder you could kill my deputy mountain master. Kill. Dongfang Q roared. Caw. Following that, a sharp cry was heard as the eastern sparrow's body rapidly grew in size. Finally, it turned into a huge flaming bird. To be precise, it was a flaming bird. This was Dongfang Q's true form. He wasn't a human but a flaming bird from the Divine Beast clan. That wasn't all. After turning into a flaming bird, his body swelled again until he was 1,000,000 meters tall. He was covered in flames and looked like a sun from afar. Primordial divine body. This was his primordial divine body that had turned into a primordial divine sparrow. Die! Dongfang Q roared as he flapped his wings. Countless feathers flew out and turned into arrows that shot towards Lu Ming. This is the primordial divine body 9th transformation. How scary. Back off. The spectators retreated, not daring to get close. Dongfang Q had turned into the primordial divine body 9th transformation. With a flap of his wings, tens of thousands of arrows covered a large area. They didn't dare to stay. If one was hit by an arrow, only death awaited them. Wind-extinguishing boots. Lu Ming thought. A pair of stone boots appeared and fused with Lu Ming's feet. Lu Ming stepped out. His body was like a stream of light, flashing continuously. He was even faster than Dongfang Q's feathers. Whoosh! Whoosh! Everyone could only see Lu Ming's figure in the sky. He dodged all the feathers and arrows and hit every single one of them. A speed-type origin source secret skill. Let's see if yours is faster than mine. Dongfang Q let out a long howl. Its huge body charged toward Lu Ming at an alarming speed. His huge wings flapped, bringing with them a terrifying gust of wind and flames that filled the sky. They spread towards Lu Ming and covered the entire area. No matter how fast Lu Ming was, he couldn't avoid them. At the same time, Dongfang Q's huge claw grabbed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body was like an ant compared to it. Primordial divine body 9th transformation, and you want to fight with me? Naive. Dongfang Q's cold and arrogant voice rang out as his giant claws rapidly approached Lu Ming. Do you think that only your primordial divine body has broken through to the 9th transformation? Lu Ming's voice rang out, followed by a deafening roar. Then, Lu Ming's body rapidly expanded. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had transformed into a golden giant 1,000,000 meters tall. The terrifying aura of the gold-armored ancient god body spread out in all directions, shocking everyone. The 9th transformation of the primordial divine body. It's the 9th transformation. Oh my god, Lu Ming's primordial divine body has also reached the 9th transformation. How is this possible? No wonder he's so confident to challenge Dongfang Q directly. The scene was filled with exclamations. Wang. Lu Ming transformed into his gold-armored ancient god body and felt his body brimming with power. The overlord god spear trembled and swept out, bringing with it an endless storm. It swept away the flames from Dongfang Q's fan and then collided with Dongfang Q's giant claw. Boom! When the two sides collided, there was an earth-shattering explosion. A terrifying force swept out in all directions. Then, a figure quickly retreated. The figure that retreated was Dongfang Q. On the other hand, Lu Ming's body only swayed a little. You've also reached the 9th transformation, Dongfang Q shouted in shock. In this world, as far as he knew, there were no more than 15 people who could reach the 9th transformation. Other than the masters of the 11 famed mountains, there were also a few deputy mountain masters of the strongest famed mountains who had reached the 9th transformation. Other than them, there was no one else. He had not expected that a previously unknown Lu Ming would also reach the 9th transformation. The 9th transformation. There's nothing to be proud of. Today, I'll suppress you, Lu Ming said coldly. His aura became even more violent. His cultivation was raised to the maximum. At the same time, a saber appeared in his left hand. It was the heavenly demon blade. Above his head, the gate of domination and the void-shattering sword appeared. Swoosh! The void-shattering sword was the fastest. It was the first to attack Dongfang Q. At the same time, the gate of domination also suppressed Dongfang Q. Lu Ming held the tyrant god spear and the heavenly demon blade in his hands. He stepped into the void and attacked Dongfang Q. Several origin secret techniques were used at the same time. The attack was like a raging tide, bombarding Dongfang Q's head. Dongfang Q roared and used all his strength to resist. His origin secret technique was a pair of wings. It could stimulate an endless amount of feather arrows that covered the sky. However, Lu Ming used the wind-extinguishing boots to dodge them one by one. Then, he pressed the tyrant god spear. A dazzling spear light pierced towards Dongfang Q. On the other side, the heavenly demon blade slashed out. The blade light whistled. An incomparably huge demonic blade cut across the void and slashed towards Dongfang Q. Everywhere it passed, the feather arrows were destroyed. Dongfang Q was shocked. Endless flames covered his body. They turned into 2 flaming swords and shot out. They blocked the tyrant god spear and the heavenly demon blade. However, he was forced back by Lu Ming's violent strength. When the gate of domination and the void-shattering sword fell, he couldn't resist. He screamed as his feathers flew. His body was almost cut in half. Now, Lu Ming's divine power was not much weaker than Dongfang Q's. When he used all his techniques, Dongfang Q was no match for him. He was injured after a few moves. Flying sparrow slash. Dongfang Q roared. His origin secret technique wings flew out and turned into a terrifying blade light. It emitted a scorching aura and slashed towards Lu Ming. He was unwilling to lose. He wanted to counterattack and defeat Lu Ming. However, the difference in strength was there. No matter how unwilling he was, it was useless. Boom! Boom! Under the bombardment of several secret arts of origin, the pair of wings were sent flying. The tyrant god spear pierced out and almost pierced Dongfang Q's chest and head. This time, Dongfang Q was truly shocked and scared. He let out an indignant roar and actually turned around to run. Lu Ming, I'll remember this debt. You'll pay for it sooner or later, Dongfang Q roared. Then, he flapped his wings desperately and rushed into the distance. You want to leave? Stay. Lu Ming shouted coldly. He stepped into the void and dashed toward Dongfang Q at an astonishing speed. At the same time, the sky-splitting sword caught up with Dongfang Q with a swoosh and slashed toward his neck. Dongfang Q was shocked. He quickly moved to the side and avoided the attack. However, he couldn't completely avoid it. One of his wings was cut off and blood sprayed into the sky. Dongfang Q screamed. He was even more shocked. He condensed his divine power into wings and flew forward. At the same time, he controlled his origin secret technique to slash at Lu Ming. Explode. In the end, Dongfang Q let out a loud roar. His origin secret skill wings exploded, turning into surging energy that charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved the tyrant god spear and the heavenly demon blade and attacked continuously. Finally, he blocked the rolling energy. Unfortunately, this delay had allowed Dongfang Q to run far away and disappear into the horizon in the blink of an eye. You ran fast. Lu Ming snorted. After this battle, he believed that Dongfang Q would not dare to attack again. Chapter 34-48. There was complete silence at the scene. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming actually won. What terrifying combat strength! Such combat strength is enough to squeeze into the top 10, as expected of someone who could unify a famed mountain. He lives up to his name. Truly terrifying. Many people were discussing. Many people from the other famed mountains had their eyes flickering. Given Lu Ming's combat power, it was sufficient for him to compete with the top 10 powerhouses. Moreover, they had heard that the ratio of primordial divine crystals collected by the Dragon Alliance was very low. It was much lower than that of other famous mountains. They only took 70% and could keep 30% for themselves. The other famed mountains would have to hand over 90%. Many people were calculating in their hearts, wondering if they should rely on Lu Ming. After all, Lu Ming's current strength was enough to protect them. The League leader has won. The people from the Dragon League found it most unbelievable. Lu Ming had actually defeated Dongfang Qiu. This was far beyond their expectations. Many of them had watched Lu Ming progress step by step. His growth was too fast, and the speed of his improvement was too terrifying. They were all monstrous geniuses, but compared to Lu Ming, they were trash. All right, it's over. Disperse. Lu Ming waved his hand and flew back to Fengyun Mountain. He collected the primordial divine crystals that he had accumulated over the years. After more than 10 years, he had earned more than 1,000,000 primordial divine crystals. After collecting them, Lu Ming instructed Bo Yi and the others before returning to Fengyun Mountain to cultivate. Following that, Lu Ming continued to comprehend the origin source secret techniques. There were still 3 types of divine powers that had not awakened the origin source secret techniques. After that, his cultivation went very smoothly. The main reason was that the environment of the famed mountains was too good. In just half a year, the remaining 3 types of divine powers had all awakened the origin source secret techniques. The mysterious sky divine power was the origin source secret technique that Lu Ming had cultivated. It was called the mysterious sky shield. It was a stone shield. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was a defense-type origin source secret technique that could save his life at critical moments. When Lu Ming turned into the primordial godly body, his defensive power was shocking, but who would complain about having a strong defense? Naturally, the stronger one's defense, the better. This way, Lu Ming had all kinds of offensive, defensive, and speed-type origin source secret techniques. It could be said that he had no weaknesses. This was absolutely freakish. One had to know that these were all source secret techniques. Their power could be unleashed to the greatest extent, and their potential was boundless. Others could only awaken one origin source secret technique. It was very simple, and they needed to cultivate ordinary secret techniques. However, how could ordinary secret techniques compare to origin source secret techniques in terms of power? Moreover, their potential was much lower. What should I cultivate next? Lu Ming began to ponder. Now, he had awakened all 11 types of divine powers 4 times, and all of them had awakened their origin secret arts. Next, there were 2 main directions for cultivation. One was to continue comprehending the godly power and the quintessence godly power factor, allowing the quintessence godly power factor to continue awakening and achieve the quintessence godly power factor. However, from the quintessence godly power to the quintessence godly power factor, it was too difficult. One had to know that the difficulty of each awakening increased exponentially. From the 3rd awakening to the 4th awakening, it would take more than a year. From the 4th awakening to the 5th awakening, it would probably take more than 100 years. Yes, even here, it would take more than 100 years. In the outside world, the time needed to achieve the 5th awakening would be even more terrifying. For others, the time needed was measured in stellar years. Now, there were only 16 years left until the 14th famed mountain would open. If he continued to comprehend the quintessence godly power factor, there wouldn't be much of a harvest in 16 years. Then, let's comprehend the origin source secret techniques. Lu Ming made his decision. There were 9 shackles on the origin source secret techniques. Every time one was unlocked, its power would increase greatly. For some origin source secret techniques, such as the Dominator's Gate and the Tyrannical God Spear, Lu Ming had already awakened them for a long time. After so many years, he had comprehended them more deeply. Perhaps there would be a breakthrough. Let's comprehend the Tyrannical God Spear first. Lu Ming pondered. Lu Ming had used the Tyrannical God Spear the most. Now, he had comprehended it the most. Next was the Dominator's Gate. With a thought, The tyrannical god spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He placed it in front of him and closed his eyes, entering a state of emptiness. His mind and the tyrannical god spear became one, and he began to comprehend it with all his might. Comprehending here, his understanding of the tyrannical god spear increased by leaps and bounds. However, it was extremely difficult to unlock the shackles on it. Time flew by, 1 year after another. In the blink of an eye, 15 years had passed. There was only 1 year left until the 14th famed mountain opened. At this time, Lu Ming finally had a major breakthrough. I see it. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly like 2 suns. A miraculous scene appeared in his eyes. 9 chains appeared on the tyrannical god spear, locking onto the tyrannical god spear like 9 runes, sealing the tyrannical god spear. 9 shackles, I see it. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely bright. However, very soon, the other 8 shackles disappeared rapidly. Only 1 shackle was left floating in the air. Slash! Lu Ming shouted. The tyrannical god spear vibrated, and a powerful force burst out from the tyrannical god spear, slashing at the shackle. This kind of shackle could not be severed by external forces. For example, Lu Ming could not touch this kind of shackle even if he used his divine power or soul power. Only the power of the secret skill of the origin could touch it. Dang dang dang, the power of the tyrannical god spear constantly bombarded the shackle. The shackle shook continuously, but it wasn't broken. Dang dang dang, Lu Ming continued to control the origin secret skill to bombard it. This process lasted for 3 hours. Finally, a crack appeared on the shackle. Almost there, almost there. Lu Ming was overjoyed and continued to control the tyrannical god spear. Dang dang dang, with Lu Ming's continuous bombardment, the crack on the shackle became bigger and bigger. 2 hours later, the shackle was finally broken. Boom! Once it was broken, the tyrannical god spear flew up and burst out with a terrifying force. What a powerful force! This force is several times stronger than before. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Once the shackle was broken, it was as if the sealed power of the tyrannical god spear was released. Lu Ming held the tyrannical god spear and casually waved it. The void exploded, and a terrifying whistling sound could be heard. Haha, my strength has increased by another level. Lu Ming was overjoyed. With the tyrannical god spear breaking a shackle, Lu Ming's strength had undoubtedly increased. If he were to fight with Dongfang Q now, he would definitely be able to kill him easily. Now, Lu Ming finally had the confidence to fight with the top 10 mountain masters. He had heard that some of the top 10 mountain masters were extremely terrifying. They had reached the pinnacle in all aspects. In fact, they could have broken through to the Divine Lord realm long ago, but they had been suppressing it. These people had all kinds of terrifying means. It was normal for some of them to have broken the shackles of their origin secret technique. Lu Ming wouldn't underestimate the heroes of the world. Chapter 3449. There's still a year left. Let's study the Gate of Gods first. Lu Ming put away the Overlord God Spear and began to study the Gate of Gods. A year passed quickly. Lu Ming naturally couldn't make any major breakthroughs in a year. He only gained a deeper understanding of the Gate of Gods. Time's up. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and soared into the sky. He left the place and returned to the Dragon Alliance headquarters. Alliance leader, you're back. Many people are preparing to leave, Bo Yi said. The opening of the 14th famed mountain was a major event in this world. Countless geniuses would gather. Most of the geniuses would rush over, not wanting to miss this rare opportunity. If they could encounter an opportunity inside, they might soar into the sky and rule over a region in the future, becoming the master of a famed mountain. After all, it was only a matter of time before the leaders of the famed mountains left. They couldn't stay here forever because they needed to make breakthroughs in their cultivation. If they kept suppressing their cultivation, they would miss the golden age for cultivation. It would be a great hindrance to their future cultivation. Therefore, some of the strongest geniuses would have to leave sooner or later. Once they left, the famed mountains were destined to change masters. It would be a chance for others to rise. If they could obtain an opportunity in the 14th famed mountain, their battle prowess would skyrocket. After the other masters left, they could occupy a famed mountain. That would also be a great opportunity. How much could they gain by occupying a famed mountain and staying there for thousands or even tens of thousands of years? How many primordial divine crystals could they obtain? It was completely unimaginable. Even if they left later, they would still have a large amount of resources to cultivate in the future. It was an endless temptation. However, there were only so many famed mountains. In each era, only a dozen or so people could become the master of a famed mountain. This trip to the 14th famed mountain was extremely important and couldn't be missed. In fact, before Lu Ming returned, many members of the Dragon Alliance had already gone ahead. Let's go. Lu Ming gave the order and led the remaining members of the Dragon Alliance to the 14th famed mountain. The 14th famed mountain was in the southernmost part of this world. It was called the 100,000 Volcanoes, which meant that there were countless volcanoes here. As soon as they arrived at this place, waves of heat assaulted their faces. Everyone used their divine power to protect their bodies and rushed into this area. When they went deep into the volcano, an incomparably huge mountain appeared in front of them. This mountain was incomparably huge, even bigger than the other famed mountains. However, the air around the mountain was distorted, as if there were endless waves of fire enveloping the mountain. This was the 14th famed mountain. It hadn't completely emerged yet and was faintly discernible. This area was already crowded with people. At a glance, there were at least a few 100,000 people. Lu Ming. A cold voice filled with killing intent rang out. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man staring coldly at Lu Ming. This person was the leader of the Chitong Mountain, Dongfang Q. What? Last time, you ran away. This time, you want to die again. I don't mind sending you on your way. Lu Ming sneered. Such big words. Who can you kill? At this moment, another figure spoke up. Another young man appeared beside Dongfang Q. This person was also wearing a fiery red robe and he looked quite similar to Dongfang Q alliance leader. This person is called Dongfang Tianqiu. He is Dongfang Q's elder brother and the leader of another famed mountain. They are also the only pair of brothers in this world. Each of them occupies a famed mountain and he is extremely powerful. He is ranked 6th on the Divine King board. Bo Yi explained. Lu Ming came to a realization. So he was Dongfang Q's elder brother. No wonder they looked similar. What? You want to stand up for your brother? Be careful not to become a roasted sparrow. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Kid, I'll spare your life now. When we enter the famed mountains, don't let us see you. Dongfang Tianqiu said coldly. Of course, he didn't dare to make a move here as there were other leaders of the famed mountains around. If they attacked Lu Ming, the other leaders of the famed mountains would only benefit from it. Nearby, many pairs of eyes looked in their direction. Lu Ming felt that some of the gazes were as sharp as swords. So many experts. Lu Ming's heart was swept by these gazes. His skin could not help but tighten. These people were a threat to him. That's the leader of the Fiery Mountain. That's the leader of the Dragon Tiger Mountain. Bo Yi introduced them to Lu Ming one by one. They were all leaders of the famed mountains. Lu Ming remembered them all. Alliance leader, that's the leader of the 6-minute mountain. He's extremely terrifying. He's ranked 3rd on the Divine King board. You must be careful if you meet him, Bo Yi whispered to Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked over and saw a young man in a black robe. His black robe was embroidered with all kinds of ghastly creatures. His eyes were like 2 pitch-black whirlpools. He was also sizing up Lu Ming with a strange smile. This person is terrifying. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This was definitely a top expert. Dongfang Q couldn't be compared to him. Alliance leader, there's Feng Qingxue. She's ranked 2nd on the Divine King board. Her strength is even more terrifying. Bo Yi looked in another direction. It was a woman in white. She seemed to be in her 20s. Her beauty was unparalleled. She was definitely one of the most beautiful women Lu Ming had ever seen. Such a beautiful woman was ranked second on the Divine King board. There were many geniuses of the primitive divine body in this world. The fact that she was ranked second among so many geniuses showed how terrifying she was. Of course, the Divine King board only referred to a certain stage of the Divine King board. For example, a long time ago, there were leaders of other famed mountains who left after reaching the Divine Lord realm. Feng Qingshue's face was cold. Even her surroundings were filled with coldness. Many people kept a distance from her. Who's ranked first on the Divine King board? Lu Ming asked. He was curious about how powerful the person ranked first on the Divine King board was. He's not here yet. But he's extremely terrifying. His combat strength is shocking. Wait, he's here. Bo Yi's eyes suddenly widened as she looked in a direction. So did the others. They all looked in that direction. A group of people was flying over from that direction. The leader was a handsome young man in a blue robe. He had a jade-like face and a gentle smile on his face. The first on the Divine King board, Murong Choshire. Bo Yi swallowed her saliva and said with a serious face. Lu Ming knew at a glance that the blue-robed young man was Murong Choshire. This was the intuition of an expert. This man was unfathomably powerful. Feng Qingxue and the mountain master of the 6-minute mountain looked very serious. They seemed to be afraid of this man. Dongfang Qiu and Dongfang Tianqiu even had a trace of fear in their eyes. They seemed to be afraid of Murong Choshue. You're all here early. Murong Choshue smiled. He stood on one side and greeted everyone. He seemed very friendly. Chapter 3450. Murong Choshue greeted everyone. He seemed very friendly and had a smile on his face. However, when he looked at Lu Ming, a shocking aura erupted from his body. The people around him were shocked and they could not help but retreat. What happened? Everyone was shocked. They did not understand why Murong Choshue would suddenly lose control of his emotions and release his aura. Murong Choshue's eyes were like lightning as he looked at Lu Ming, as if he wanted to pierce through Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with an ice-cold killing intent. Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment. That fellow has a Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment. At this moment, the Vitality Stone Spirit's exclamation came from the Vitality Stone that had been silent all this time. What? This fellow has a Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment. Lu Ming's heart was shocked. The Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment he had before was just a fragment. The Rock Spirit had told him that the Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment had a rock spirit that would find a peerless genius to become its master. Moreover, when two people with Life Spirit Source Stone Fragments came close, the rock spirit could sense each other. Lu Ming finally understood why Murong Choshue would lose control of his emotions and release his aura when he looked at him, even releasing an ice-cold killing intent. Needless to say, the other side knew that he had a Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment in his body. I never thought that I would meet someone with a Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment here. I am a rather direct person. Take the initiative to give me the Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment and I will spare your life. A voice entered Lu Ming's ears. It was clear that it was Murong Choshue's voice. Is that so? I also want to say this to you. If you take the initiative to give me the Life Spirit Source Stone Fragment, I will also spare your life. Lu Ming coldly replied. These words made Murong Choshue's face darken. His gentle smile disappeared and what was left was an extremely cold killing intent. This killing intent was as cold as ice, causing the temperature to drop. This was the Flame Mountain area and the ground was covered in flames. But at this moment, under this killing intent, the flames seemed to be frozen. What is going on? Why did Murong Choshue suddenly release such a terrifying killing intent? The surrounding people were shocked and they all retreated. Lu Ming and Murong Choshue had talked to each other through voice transmission, so they did not know. Very good, very good. Murong Choshue stared at Lu Ming and said very good twice. Since the top genius broke through to the Divine Monarch realm and was sent away, since he sat on the throne of the first place on the God King list, no one in this world had dared to talk to him in this world. Even the second and third ranked existences did not dare to do so. It's him. Many people looked at Lu Ming, feeling bewildered. It was obvious that Murong Qiu Shui's killing intent was directed at Lu Ming. However, why would Murong Qiu Shui target Lu Ming? This brat has offended Murong Qiu Shui. It seems like we don't need to make a move. Qiu Shui, it seems that I have been in seclusion for a while and some people don't put me in their eyes. Very good, before entering the 14th mountain, I will exercise my body. A cold voice came from Murong Qiu Shui's mouth. Then, a stream of water appeared in his hand. The water kept wriggling and turned into a flying dagger. Xiu. Murong Qiu Shui waved his hand and the flying dagger turned into a flash of light, flying towards Lu Ming. It was fast, extremely fast. With a flash of light, the flying dagger approached him and aimed at his forehead. With such a fast speed, Lu Ming did not have time to use his secret origin technique to block it. At this critical moment, Lu Ming could only raise his hand to block the attack. Clang! The flying dagger hit the bracelet on Lu Ming's wrist. This bracelet was transformed by Qiu Qiu. With a loud bang, the bracelet almost exploded. Lu Ming felt a mountain-toppling force coming from his wrist. He flew back like a cannonball for several thousand miles before he could stabilize himself. What a strong force! Lu Ming felt an intense pain coming from his arm. It was as if his bones were about to break. His opponent did not even use his primordial divine body. It was just a flying dagger formed by a stream of water, but its power was already so terrifying. The number 1 on the God King list was indeed terrifying, so it's a metallic life form. Do you think you can save your life by relying on a metallic life form? Then I will kill this metallic life form as well, Murong Qiu Shui said indifferently. He was incomparably domineering. A terrifying aura spread out from his body and several streams of water appeared. He was about to attack. Hong long long. At this moment, a violent explosion came from heaven and earth. The sound came from the 14th mountain. The 14th mountain kept shaking. The surrounding space shook and a terrifying explosion came from it. The air around the 14th mountain was originally distorted, but now it had completely disappeared. It became calm. Looking from afar, one could see mountains standing between heaven and earth. The 14th mountain was too big. It was endless. The surrounding mountains reached into the clouds and the main mountain in the middle was like a crane in a flock of chickens, piercing through the clouds. The 14th mountain was opened. Everyone's eyes lit up. Shua shua shua. Suddenly, countless people moved. They turned into streaks of light and charged into the mountains, as if they were afraid of being slower than others. Let's go. Dongfang Q, Dongfang Tian Q, and the mountain masters of the other famous mountains also charged into the mountains. 6-minute mountains mountain masters Feng Wu Qi and Feng Qing Shui looked at Lu Ming and Murong Qiu Shui before charging into the mountains. Many people wanted to see the result of Lu Ming and Murong Qiu Shui, but there was no time. If they entered the 14th mountain late, the opportunity might be taken by someone else. When it came to opportunities, the slightest difference could lead to a huge difference. If they were late, it might belong to someone else. Alliance Master, Bo Yi looked at Lu Ming with a bit of anxiety on his face. You all go in first. Lu Ming waved his hand. If Murong Qiu Shui wanted to fight, then he would fight. Alliance Master, be careful. Bo Yi gritted his teeth and charged into the mountains. In the blink of an eye, only Murong Qiu Shui and Lu Ming were left. Kill. Murong Qiu Shui gave a cold roar. His body began to grow, finally turning into a strange being. This being was over 1,000,000 meters tall and had a dignified appearance. On his back, there were 6 arms. This was Murong Qiu Shui's primordial divine body and he had already reached the peak of the 9th transformation. He wanted to end this quickly and take care of Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Xiu, xiu, xiu. His 6 arms swung out and 6 flying daggers flew at Lu Ming. Fast, accurate, and fierce. The might was terrifying, piercing through the void. It was more than 10 times stronger than before. Lu Ming was prepared this time and did not dare be careless. He directly used his ancient divine body, turning it into the golden armored ancient divine body. The tyrant god spear appeared and he instantly stabbed out 6 times. 6 spear glows stabbed out at the 6 flying daggers. Hong, 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 6 terrifying explosions rang out like 6 planets exploding. The shockwaves caused Lu Ming's body to tremble and he took 2 steps back. Chapter 3451. So you've already reached the primordial divine body 9th transformation and the life soul source stone fragment chose you. You're really something. Brat, I'll wait for you at the 14th mountain. I hope you dare to come in, Murong Qiu Shui said in a cold voice with a gloomy face. Lu Ming's ability was beyond his imagination. If he wanted to get rid of Lu Ming, he had to resort to some tricks. However, in this way, he would be 1 step behind when he entered the famed mountain. He was afraid that the opportunities inside would fall into the hands of others. Leaving these words, Murong Qiu Shui took a step forward and charged into the mountains, disappearing into the vast mountains in the blink of an eye. This fellow is really strong. He's really terrifying, Lu Ming muttered, but he was not afraid. Instead, his fighting spirit soared. Murong Qiu Shui was very terrifying and his strength was unfathomable. He definitely did not use his full strength when he attacked just now. Of course, Lu Ming did not use his full strength either. For example, he did not use the battle symbol art to increase his battle strength by 5 times. He also did not use his other origin secret techniques. Even the Overlord God Spear did not use its full strength. The Overlord God Spear Lu Ming had already severed the first shackle, but he did not release the power of the first shackle just now. Let's go. Lu Ming did not stop and also charged into the 14th mountain. Their goal was the highest peak in the middle. It was said that the true main peak was inside that peak. But it was very far from the main peak. Moreover, the 14th mountain was not only filled with terrifying flames and high temperatures, there was also a strong pressure that made their speed very slow. It was not easy to fly to the main peak. Hundreds of thousands of people flew into the boundless mountains and completely disappeared. It was like a few drops of water falling into the sea, not creating any waves at all. Lu Ming flew towards the main peak. After around an hour, he passed 2 secondary peaks and was still quite a distance away from the main peak. Such rich primordial divine energy, Lu Ming exclaimed. He found that the primordial divine energy of the 14th mountain was richer than that of the Fengyun mountain. There was also a special pressure. Cultivating here would definitely be better than cultivating in Fengyun mountain. But now was not the time to cultivate. He had to enter the main peak and obtain opportunities. Lu Ming's goal was the primordial god spirit's blood. As long as he could obtain it, Lu Ming would be able to break through and condense the primordial god spirit's blood. Just as Lu Ming flew over a mountain peak, a few figures flashed and flew out, surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. Dongfang Q, Dongfang Tian Q. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. These people were the 2 brothers, Dongfang Q and Dongfang Tian Q. There were also 3 other young men with exceptionally powerful auras. Lu Ming speculated that they were at the level of the Deputy Hill Master. Lu Ming, I never thought that your luck would be this good. You actually survived Murong Qiu Shui's hands. Dongfang Q's eyes were cold. It seems like Murong Qiu Shui is in a rush to enter the 14 mountains, so he let him go. However, your luck has reached its end, meeting us. We'll send you on your way today, Dongfang Tianqiu said coldly. Do you think you can kill me with just the 2 of you? Lu Ming sneered and looked at Dongfang Q with disdain, meaning that he was looking for a beating. Lu Ming, let me tell you, my big brother's strength is far above mine. Moreover, this is the volcanic area. You will be suppressed here and we will be stronger. Today will be the day you die. Dongfang Q shouted and his body quickly turned into the primordial god spirit. At the same time, the others also attacked and turned into the primordial god spirit. There was no doubt that Dongfang Tiang's primordial god spirit was also at the 9th change and it was the limit of the 9th change. As for the other 3 Deputy Hill Masters, one of them had also cultivated the primordial god spirit to the 9th change. It seemed like he was at the early stage of the 9th change. The 5 of them charged at Lu Ming at the same time and launched their attacks. Endless waves of fire swept over, wanting to turn Lu Ming into ashes. The Overlord spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand and he stabbed it out. Instantly, 5 spear lights appeared and stabbed at the 5 of them. Hong hong hong, there were 5 consecutive explosions. As the energy swept out, the 4 figures retreated. However, Dongfang Tianqiu did not retreat. His body only swayed a little. What a strong divine power! Dongfang Tianqi's divine power is so strong. It's an ancient cultivation method. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He realized that Dongfang Tianqi's divine power was incredibly strong. He could clearly sense that Dongfang Tianqiu possessed 2 types of divine power. Ancient cultivation method. Dongfang Tianqiu had also practiced the ancient cultivation method and possessed 2 kinds of divine power. This was the second heavenly legend that Lu Ming had met who practiced ancient cultivation methods. The first one was Chu Chengkong, the number 1 genius of the war god clan of the Taishu dynasty. Furthermore, Lu Ming discovered that the ancient cultivation method of cultivating various kinds of divine powers was very different from cultivating the heaven and earth myriad Dao art. By cultivating the cosmos myriad Dao's incantation, one could cultivate many types of god power. However, the strength of each type of god power, such as the size of a star core, was the same as that of an ordinary person. However, the result of cultivating the ancient cultivation method was that one star core would be bigger than an ordinary person's, and each type of god power would be stronger and more condensed. Although Dongfang Tianqiu had only cultivated 2 types of god power, his divine power was so strong that it was comparable to 3 or 4 types of god power that an ordinary person possessed. This made his strength extremely shocking. "Is this all you've got? Go to hell!" Dongfang Tianqiu shouted. His wings pierced through the sky like 2 divine swords, cutting through the void. "I'll kill your underlings first so that you can live a little longer." Lu Ming's cold voice rang out in Dongfang Tianqi's ears. Then, a pair of stone battle boots appeared and merged with Lu Ming's feet. Lu Ming took a step forward and disappeared in a flash. The next moment, Lu Ming appeared in front of one of the deputy leaders. Boom! Lu Ming activated the battle character incantation, which increased his combat strength by 5 times. At the same time, he transformed into the gold-armored ancient god body. 11 types of god power burst out as he stabbed his spear toward one of the deputy leaders. Fast, too fast. With the help of the wind destroyer boots, Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With a puff, blood splattered everywhere. The deputy leader's glabella was directly penetrated. His soul was annihilated, and he died on the spot. After killing the deputy leader, Lu Ming's figure flashed and charged toward another deputy leader. The gate of domination pressed down, and the void-breaking sword arrived first. The deputy leader was terrified and used all his strength to block the gate of domination and the void-breaking sword. However, Lu Ming had already arrived and killed him with a single spear strike. After killing 2 deputy leaders in a row, the rest of the people were terrified and quickly retreated to Dongfang Tianqi's side. "Lu Ming, you're courting death." Dongfang Tianqiu was extremely angry. He flapped his wings, bringing along violent flames that swept toward Lu Ming. Dongfang Tianqi's secret origin technique was the same as Dongfang Tianqi's. It was a pair of wings that were extremely powerful and had both speed and attack effects. At the same time, Dongfang Tianqiu also attacked. With a flap of his wings, countless arrows flew toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's mind moved, and a huge stone shield appeared in front of him. It was the secret origin technique, the mysterious heavenly shield. Boom, boom, boom. The arrows bombarded the mysterious heavenly shield and were all blocked. Chapter 3452. How can this kid have so many secret techniques of origin? Dongfang Qiu was shocked. So what if he has so many secret techniques of origin? Kill! Dongfang Tianqiu shouted as he flapped his wings. They slashed at the mysterious heavenly shield like a heavenly blade, causing the shield to let out a loud boom. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure swayed and he appeared in front of the 3rd Deputy Mountain Master, kicking him. This Deputy Mountain Master was very powerful. He had cultivated the 9th transformation of the primitive divine body and was not much weaker than Dongfang Qiu. He was also one of the top 30 on the Divine King board. He shouted angrily and threw out a punch to meet Lu Ming's kick. With a loud boom, the deputy mountain master was forced to retreat. The Wind Destroyer boots also had a strong offensive power. Son of the Sun, Lu Ming shouted softly. A huge sun emerged, erupting with dazzling brilliance. The flames between heaven and earth gathered toward the sun in a frenzy. Then, terrifying rays of light burst forth, shrouding the deputy mountain master. Lu Ming had the divine power of the sun and was not affected by the flames at all. Instead, the Son of the Sun was even more powerful. Ah! The light of the sun made the deputy mountain master let out a shrill cry. Damn it, Lu Ming, don't run away, Dongfang Tianqiu shouted as he flapped his wings and pounced on Lu Ming. He slashed forward with one of his wings and the void was split open. Flames were rolling as he slashed at Lu Ming. However, the mysterious heavenly shield appeared in front of him silently and blocked his attack. Then, the Gate of Domination, the void-shattering sword, and the heavenly demon blade all attacked Dongfang Qiu and Dongfang Tianqiu, temporarily blocking their attacks. Lu Ming, on the other hand, attacked the deputy mountain master fiercely. Although the deputy mountain master was powerful, he was still weaker than Lu Ming. After blocking a few moves, Lu Ming's spear pierced through his head and he died on the spot. The 3 deputy mountain masters that Dongfang Tianqiu had brought with him were all dead. Boom! Boom! Behind him, there was a deafening roar, accompanied by a furious roar. Dongfang Sky Sparrow was indeed very powerful. With a terrifying airwave, he blasted the Qianxian shield and the heavenly demon blade away, suspending them around Lu Ming. The 6th on the Divine King board really live up to his name. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Dongfang Tianqiu was indeed very powerful. If he did not use his full strength, he would not be able to defeat Dongfang Tianqiu for a while. Boom! Just as he was thinking about it, Dongfang Heavenly Sparrow arrived. His wings were like blades, slashing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming brandished his spear and exchanged blows with the other party. His body shook violently and he could not help but retreat a few steps. Of course, Dongfang Heavenly Sparrow also retreated a few steps. Lu Ming held the hegemon spear in his hand and pointed it at Dongfang Tianqiu. In the next moment, a shocking aura erupted from the hegemon spear. A spear gleam burst forth automatically and pierced toward Dongfang Tianqiu at an alarming speed. Dongfang Tianqiu used his wings to block the spear. Boom! Dongfang Tianqi's body shook and he was pushed back. At the same time, dozens of feathers flew in the air. You've severed the shackles. Your origin energy secret technique has severed the shackles. Dongfang Tianqiu roared in shock and disbelief. It was extremely difficult to sever the shackles with the origin energy secret technique. As far as he knew, there were only 2 or 3 people in the world who could do it. Lu Ming had also severed the shackles. That was too terrifying. Little brother, run! Dongfang Tianqiu shouted and turned to run. Lu Ming was already powerful. Now that he had severed the shackles with the origin energy secret technique, he knew that even if he joined forces with Dongfang Tianqiu, they would not be a match for Lu Ming. He quickly ran. In fact, Dongfang Tianqi's reaction was faster than Dongfang Tianqi's. The moment Dongfang Tianqiu opened his mouth, Dongfang Tianqiu had already turned to run. Qiu, hold him back. Lu Ming waved his hand and Qiu flew out. It turned into a huge battle sword and slashed at Dongfang Tianqiu. Boom! Qiu and Dongfang Tianqiu exchanged blows. They were evenly matched. If they were at the same level, Qiu would not be a match for Dongfang Tianqiu. However, after Qiu swallowed the broken sword, it turned into a broken sword and had incredible attack power. When it turned into a broken sword, it could barely fight Dongfang Tianqiu. Lu Ming, on the other hand, charged at Dongfang Tianqiu. Boom! The tyrannical god spear pressed down. The void shook violently and exploded continuously. The terrifying pressure caused the ground to shake violently. Dongfang Tianqiu was extremely frightened. He let out a long cry and flames filled the sky. He put his wings together and slashed out. A huge flaming battle sword was formed and slashed at Lu Ming. He wanted to block the tyrannical god spear. However, when it collided with the tyrannical god spear, the flaming battle sword shook violently and exploded. From the beginning to the end, it only lasted for half a breath. The tyrannical god spear did not stop. It continued to bombard Dongfang Qiang's body. Dongfang Qiang's huge body fell to the ground like a meteor. He crashed heavily on the ground, causing the ground to shake violently. However, the rocks here were extremely hard. Such a terrifying attack only shattered a few rocks on the ground. However, the impact on Dongfang Qiangqiu was even greater. He spat out mouthfuls of blood and many bones in his body were broken. Big brother, Dongfang Qiangqiu roared in fear. If Dongfang Qiangqiu died, he would not be able to live either. He let out a hysterical roar and attacked Qiuqiu crazily. However, Qiuqiu's vitality was shockingly strong. Its defense was also extremely strong. It was fine after being hit a few times. It was like a dogskin plaster that entangled Dongfang Qiangqiu tightly. It was difficult for Dongfang Qiangqiu to escape. After Lu Ming severely injured Dongfang Qiangqiu, he did not stop. He swooped down and stabbed Dongfang Qiangqiu with his spear. Dongfang Qiangqiu was terrified. He tried his best to block and move sideways to avoid Lu Ming's attack. However, his defense was broken through by the tyrannical god spear. Now, Lu Ming had pushed his strength to the limit. He had reached the peak in history and had completely surpassed Dongfang Qiangqiu. Puff. In the end, Dongfang Qiangqiu avoided the fatal blow to his head. However, his body was penetrated by the spear. The destructive force exploded in Dongfang Qiang's body. Dongfang Qiang's body exploded continuously. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Dongfang Qiangqiu screamed in pain. Then, his body shrunk rapidly. He turned into a small sparrow that was only a meter long and flew away in fear. He turned into a small sparrow and tried to dodge Lu Ming's attack with agility. However, Lu Ming had the wind-extinguishing boots and the Garuda technique. Dongfang Qiangqiu was severely injured. How could he escape? Lu Ming took a few steps forward and caught up with Dongfang Qiangqiu. Then, he stabbed his spear. This time, Dongfang Qiangqiu could not dodge. He let out an unwilling roar. His 1-meter-long body was no different from an ant in Lu Ming's current state. The tip of the tyrannical god spear could completely envelop him. Chapter 3453. Bam! Dongfang Qiangqiu was stabbed by the tip of the spear and let out a cry of agony. His entire body exploded and his soul was destroyed. Dongfang Qiangqiu was dead. Dongfang Qiangqiu was even more terrified after Dongfang Qiang's death. He was careless and was almost hit by Qiuqiu's battle sword. However, he was still hit by the sword and hundreds of feathers fell to the ground. Lu Ming moved and appeared not far away from Dongfang Qiangqiu like a flash of light. Don't kill me. I'm willing to surrender. I'm willing to swear on my life origin to be loyal to you forever. Dongfang Qiangqiu roared. He was really scared. Even his elder brother was dead. He could only die. He could not figure out why Lu Ming was so terrifying. When he fought with Lu Ming more than a decade ago, although Lu Ming was strong, he was only slightly stronger than him. He was far from being this powerful. Lu Ming had already severed the shackles of the Origin Source secret skill. He was sure that Lu Ming did not sever the shackles of the Origin Source secret skill more than a decade ago. Otherwise, he would have been killed more than a decade ago. In just a decade, Lu Ming had achieved such shocking results. He must have gotten a great opportunity. Swear loyalty to me. I'm sorry, but it's better to send someone like you on your way, Lu Ming said coldly. Dongfang Qiangqiu was definitely from a powerful force. He did not want to complicate matters. Killing him was the safest thing to do. Whoosh! Lu Ming attacked. The tyrant god spear stabbed toward Dongfang Qiangqiu. At the same time, Qiuqiu joined in as well. Dongfang Qiangqiu did not stand a chance. He barely managed to block 2 moves before he died on the spot. Dongfang Qiangqiu and the other 4 were all dead. Then, Lu Ming's body flashed and 5 storage rings appeared in his hand. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. These were the storage rings of Dongfang Qiangqiu and the others. Dongfang Tianqiu and Dongfang Tianqiu were the leaders of their respective mountains. How many primordial divine crystals would they have? Lu Ming remembered clearly that the 3 deputy mountain masters of Qitong Mountain had contributed more than 30 million primordial divine crystals to Lu Ming. As the mountain chieftain, Dongfang Qiu's net worth was definitely more than the 3 deputy mountain chieftains. In addition, there was also Dongfang Tianqiu, who was ranked 6th, and the 3 vice mountain masters. The primordial divine crystals inside were absolutely astonishing. Lu Ming merely used his spiritual sense to sweep over, and he saw primordial divine crystals piled up like a mountain. Ha ha ha, awesome. Lu Ming didn't count them in detail because he didn't have time. He just put away the storage ring first. Qiu turned back into a bracelet on Lu Ming's wrist, and Lu Ming charged into the depths of the 14 famed mountains. It was very peaceful later on. Nothing happened. Lu Ming spent about an entire day before he arrived at the main peak of the 14th mountain. There was not a single person. It was quiet, as if everyone had disappeared without a trace. Soon enough, Lu Ming knew what was going on. He circled the main peak and discovered a huge cave. This cave was too huge. It was 5,000 kilometers wide, and shockingly tens of thousands of kilometers tall. It was like the cave of a huge beast. It was pitch black inside, and he didn't know where it led to. Everyone should have entered this cave. Lu Ming muttered to himself for a moment. Then, he stepped out and charged into the cave. The cave was very long. Lu Ming walked forward for a full hour. Then, there were 2 forks in the road. Lu Ming frowned. The 2 forks were exactly the same, and he couldn't see any difference. How was he supposed to choose? He could only choose one at random. In the end, Lu Ming chose one at random and ran forward. However, before long, 2 more forks appeared before him. They were exactly the same, and he couldn't tell them apart. Lu Ming could only choose one at random, just like before. However, after walking for a while, he encountered another 2 forks. Lu Ming frowned. Was there no end to this? However, he was helpless. There was no better way, so he could only continue forward. Just like that, Lu Ming went through 7 forks and finally reached the end. Yes, it was really the end. There was no road ahead. There was a wall in front of him, and it was broken. I don't believe it. Lu Ming punched the wall in front of him, and there was a violent boom. However, there was no trace of the wall at all. Not even a crack appeared. What a hard rock. How can it be so hard? Lu Ming was shocked. The rocks of the famed mountain were indeed incomparably hard and difficult to destroy. However, with Lu Ming's strength, he could still shatter some rocks. But here, his punch didn't leave a single mark on the rock. This was unusual. Let's try again. The Overlord spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he stabbed the rock wall. Boom! The wall shook again, but the Overlord spear also shook violently and bent into an arc. However, there was still no trace of the wall. Still no trace. This is too hard. Let's try on both sides. Lu Ming stabbed the wall on both sides with the Overlord spear. However, the result was the same. The wall was immortal, and there was no trace left. Could this be a maze? Lu Ming frowned. In this situation, he could only return to the nearest fork and walk along another path. On the way, Lu Ming also experimented. He used the Overlord spear to bombard the wall, but there was still no trace left. Lu Ming could only give up. It seemed that it was impossible to destroy the wall. He could only find a way. Sure enough, not long after he moved forward, there was another fork in the road. This time, there were 3 paths in front of him. Lu Ming casually chose a path and kept moving forward. After passing through a few forks in the road, he reached the end and saw a wall. Lu Ming was helpless and could only return to the previous fork. Something's not right. When Lu Ming returned to the previous fork, his face changed greatly. He clearly remembered that this was a 3-forked road before, but now, it had become a 5-forked road. The most important thing was that the path he came from before had disappeared. How could he get out? This was a moving maze. Each path was constantly changing. In other words, if he couldn't find the exit, he wouldn't even have a way out. The most important thing was that Lu Ming didn't even know which path he had just taken. Because if he went forward and went back, the path he took just now might have changed. Moreover, the wall was incomparably hard. He couldn't leave a mark. How could he do this? If I can't leave a mark, I can at least leave an item. Lu Ming took out an ordinary divine crystal and threw it at the intersection he had just walked through. This way, as long as there was a mark at the intersection he had walked through, he would know that he had walked through it. As long as he didn't walk through it, he would walk out sooner or later. However, what made him dumbfounded was that when the divine crystal fell to the ground, the rock actually squirmed and swallowed the divine crystal. Then, the rock returned to its original state. Chapter 3454. You can't do this. Lu Ming was speechless. He took out another piece of divine crystal, but the result was the same. I don't believe it. Let's try something else. Then, Lu Ming took out a fragment of a divine weapon and threw it on the ground. The result was the same. It was swallowed by the ground. He took out the refining materials, medicinal herbs, and medicinal pills. No matter what he took out, as long as he threw it on the ground, it would be swallowed. This place doesn't allow people to make marks. Am I supposed to rely on my luck? If I'm lucky, I'll be able to get out, but if I'm unlucky, I'll be trapped here. Lu Ming was speechless. In the end, Lu Ming could only brace himself and move forward. Just like that, Lu Ming walked around in circles for 10 days, but he still couldn't find the exit. On this day, when Lu Ming came to a fork in the road, his body suddenly flashed. 2 figures appeared in front of Lu Ming and blocked his way. Finally, one of you is here. Hee, another mark. One of the young men sneered and stared at Lu Ming. You don't know me? Lu Ming was surprised. Do we have to know you? You're just a 7th heaven divine king. Do you think we know you? The other young man said disdainfully. It seemed that not everyone had seen Lu Ming before. By the way, you said there would be another mark. What do you mean? Lu Ming asked. It's okay to tell you. This maze will swallow everything, so it's impossible to make a mark. However, it won't swallow living things. So, as long as we beat you half to death, seal your cultivation, and throw you at a fork in the road, won't there be another mark? One of the young men explained. Yeah, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of it? Lu Ming clapped his hands. He had thought wrongly before and thought of marking things. He didn't expect to use living things as a mark. That's right. If the wall swallowed living things, wouldn't he be swallowed too? Kid, do you understand now? Be a good boy and be a mark. We'll go easy on you. A young man laughed sinisterly as he and another young man rushed towards Lu Ming. Then, a loud rumbling noise sounded. After a few breaths of time, 2 youths howled in grief. They each laid on a fork in the road, their faces bruised and swollen. They couldn't move at all. Lu Ming clapped his hands and said, Be a good symbol. Lu Ming smiled and walked towards an unmarked intersection. Not long after, Lu Ming came to another fork in the road. To his surprise, he discovered that there was a young man lying on the ground at one of the junctions. His eyes were rolled back weakly. Obviously, many people had already thought of this idea and started to use people as markers. After seeing Lu Ming, the young man hurriedly shouted, Brother, save me, save me. Don't worry about being a mark. With your cultivation base, you might get killed if you fight for the opportunity. I'm doing this for your own good, Lu Ming said earnestly before walking towards an unmarked intersection. Sure enough, he found that he would often see some markers at the next fork in the road. Of course, there were also some ignorant people who wanted to make a move on Lu Ming and make Lu Ming a mark. In the end, they ended up becoming a mark themselves. Of course, not everyone wanted to make a move on Lu Ming. Some people knew Lu Ming. When they saw Lu Ming, their expressions changed and they turned to run. Just like that, Lu Ming wandered around for another 10 days. As time passed, more and more markers appeared at the forks. There were hundreds of thousands of people entering the maze this time. Although the maze was huge, it was impossible for there to be so many intersections. Therefore, in the end, all the intersections that were not accessible were marked out. Lu Ming walked more and more smoothly and his speed became faster and faster. After another day, Lu Ming finally saw light. In front of him, he saw the exit. Lu Ming was overjoyed and strode towards the exit. Out of the cave, there was a huge platform. In front of the platform, there was an abyss. Below the abyss, there was a scorching aura. He could even see the flames dancing. But these flames were pure black and looked like demonic flames. Above the abyss, there was a stone bridge that led to the front. At the end of the bridge, there was a young man standing with his hands behind his back, blocking the bridge. Around the platform, there were many young men, at least 1,000 of them. These people were angrily staring at the young man, but they did not dare to make a move because the young man was Murong Qiu Shui. Murong Qiu Shui, you've been blocking this bridge, what is your meaning? If you don't want to cross the bridge, then don't block us. The second-ranked Feng Qing Shui shouted. That's right, Murong Qiu Shui, move aside. Although you are strong, there are so many of us, you are not a match for us. The third-ranked 6-Minute Mountains Mountain Master coldly said. Of all the people present, only they dared to talk to Murong Qiu Shui like this. I am waiting for someone. When I see someone, you can naturally go over, Murong Qiu Shui lightly said. What does it matter to us that you are waiting for someone? Move aside. Feng Qing Shui loudly shouted, her aura becoming stronger. Coming. At this time, Murong Qiu Shui opened his mouth and looked at the entrance of the maze. Everyone's eyes couldn't help looking over and they found that it was Lu Ming. It's him. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like Murong Qiu Shui was waiting for Lu Ming and wanted to kill Lu Ming here. Little brat, you're finally here. This is the place I chose for you to be buried. How about it? Are you satisfied? Murong Qiu Shui indifferently said. He walked towards Lu Ming and moved aside from the bridge. Let's go. When Murong Qiu Shui moved aside, there were people who charged towards the stone bridge. It was very calm and there was nothing strange. These people quickly crossed the stone bridge and disappeared on the other side. Let's go too. Feng Qing Shui, the 6-Minute Mountains Mountain Master, and the others all moved, charging towards the stone bridge. In the blink of an eye, only Lu Ming and Murong Qiu Shui were left on the platform. This time, Murong Qiu Shui was not in a rush. This was because he was the first one to pass through the maze and he had already crossed the stone bridge, entering the other side. But the other side was not calm. If he wanted to pass, it would not be easy. Letting these people pass first would save him some energy. It wouldn't be too late for him to rush over after killing Lu Ming. Then let's see if you have the skills. The Tyrant God Spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. At the same time, Lu Ming activated the battle character art to increase his battle strength by 5 times. His body began to grow as he turned into a golden-armored ancient god. Facing Murong Qiu Shui, Lu Ming did not dare be careless. He used his full strength as soon as he attacked. At the same time, Murong Qiu Shui also released his primordial divine body, turning it into 6 arms. He looked very dignified, just like a Buddha. Streams of water appeared, turning into 6 flying daggers. Kill. This time, before Murong Qiu Shui could make a move, Lu Ming made a move first. He had already activated the battle character art to increase his battle strength by 5 times. The wind-extinguishing boots appeared and fused with Lu Ming's feet, increasing Lu Ming's speed to its peak. A spear glow flew out, stabbing at Murong Qiu Shui's forehead. Chapter 3455. Lu Ming's spear stabbed at Murong Qiu Shui's forehead as fast as lightning. But before the spear could reach him, a flying dagger flew out from Murong Qiu Shui's hand. Fast, too fast. Lu Ming had never seen an attack faster than this. Even if it was Emperor Sword One's sword, it still wouldn't be enough. Dang! The flying dagger collided with the spear and released a terrifying explosion. The Overlord God spear trembled and buzzed without stopping. Shio, shio, shio. At the same time, the 5 flying daggers in Murong Qiu Shui's other 5 hands also shot out. They turned into 5 bolts of lightning and shot at Lu Ming's forehead, throat, and heart. Profound Sky Shield. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and the profound sky shield appeared in front of him, blocking his entire body. However, the 5 flying daggers actually made a turn and flew behind Lu Ming to launch an attack. Void-shattering sword, ruler's gate, heavenly demon blade. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and several origin secret techniques appeared, flying at the 5 flying daggers. At the same time, the Overlord God spear wildly swept behind him. Hong, hong, hong. With a series of explosions, the 5 flying daggers were all blocked. So many origin secret techniques, it seems like your cultivation technique is not small. Not bad, not only can I obtain the life soul source stone by killing you, I can also obtain your cultivation technique, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Murong Qiu Shui's cold voice sounded and his killing intent became even stronger. His aura became stronger and his divine power became brighter. Finally, a flying dagger appeared. This flying dagger was no longer condensed from water, but rather a stone dagger. It released an ancient aura. This was Murong Qiu Shui's origin secret technique. But it did not stop there. After the first flying dagger appeared, a second one appeared, and then a third one appeared. In the end, there were actually 9 stone flying daggers that appeared around Murong Qiu Shui. 9 kinds of origin secret techniques? No, it's just one. Lu Ming's eyes opened wide in shock. In the beginning, he thought that Murong Qiu Shui had 9 kinds of origin secret techniques, but looking carefully, he found that this wasn't right. The 9 flying daggers came from the same source and were clearly the same origin secret technique. Could this be a saber formation? Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. He instinctively felt that these 9 flying daggers must be very powerful. Most people would only awaken one origin secret skill, such as Lu Ming's Gate of Domination, Hegemon Spear, Heavenly Demon Blade, Tianqian Shield, and so on. However, there was no rule stating that one could only awaken one origin source secret technique. Origin secret techniques were just a type of secret technique. Secret techniques were ever-changing. For example, the wind extinguishing boots only had 2 pieces. It wasn't surprising that there were 9 of them. Lu Ming had heard that there were some origin source secret techniques that could be used to form a sword formation or even an army. Generally, those kinds of secret techniques were very powerful. Have a taste of my immortal slaying flying saber. Kill. Murong Qiu Shui roared out. With a wave of his hand, 9 flying daggers flew out at Lu Ming. It was as if they pierced through space and appeared in front of Lu Ming in a flash. Lu Ming didn't dare be careless. He controlled various origin source secret techniques to fly out, wanting to block the immortal slaying flying saber. The void-shattering sword was the fastest. In a flash, it collided with one of the immortal slaying flying saber, exploding with a terrifying explosion. The void-shattering sword trembled and was sent flying back. Then it was the heavenly devil blade, the immemorial dragon god's horn, and the others. They collided with the immortal slaying flying saber and were sent flying back one by one. Dang! Lu Ming stabbed out with the Hegemon spear and collided with one of the immortal slaying flying saber. Suddenly, he felt a terrifying power surging towards Lu Ming. His body trembled and he couldn't help retreating. It really is a saber formation. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The 9 flying daggers were arranged in a mysterious position. The power of each flying dagger was shockingly strong. The remaining flying daggers flew towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the profound sky shield and the Gate of Sovereigns to protect his body. Dang, dang, dang. The immortal slaying flying saber collided with the profound sky shield and the Gate of Sovereigns, causing a terrifying explosion. It shook violently as if they would explode at any time. Whoosh! Lu Ming's body was sent flying back by the powerful force. Murong Qiu Shui is indeed the number 1 on the God King list. The origin source secret technique, flying saber formation, is too powerful. Dongfang Tianqiu is no match for this saber formation. Lu Ming's mind was racing, but the other party's flying daggers did not stop attacking. They collided with Lu Ming's origin secret skill. Lu Ming was blasted back by the powerful force until he retreated to the edge of the abyss. It seems like I have to activate the true power of the Hegemon spear. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a cold glint. He planned to activate the power of the Hegemon spear after severing a shackle. Lu Ming, there's no need to fight to the death with him. Take a step back first. The demon fire below the abyss is useful to me, but it can't hurt you. At this moment, Bone Demon's voice sounded. The demon fire is useful to you. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he immediately understood Bone Demon's meaning. The demon fire was a terrifying flame that could burn a person's body and soul. The abyss was filled with this kind of flame. With their cultivation below the divine monarch realm, they would definitely die if they went down. However, Bone Demon said that the demon fire was useful to him and it couldn't hurt Lu Ming. His meaning was very simple. He wanted Lu Ming to go down first and let Murong Qiu Shui think that Lu Ming was dead. Then Lu Ming would follow behind and watch the tigers fight. He would let the other prodigies compete with each other while he reaped the benefits. To be honest, Murong Qiu Shui was very strong. It was said that the top 3 people on the God King list all had their origin secret techniques severed a shackle. Murong Qiu Shui clearly hadn't activated this power yet, otherwise it would be even more shocking. Even if Lu Ming activated the power of the Hegemon spear, he might not be able to beat Murong Qiu Shui. This was a true peerless prodigy that came from a large race in the universe. To be recognized by the Life Spirit Source Stone, how could he be weak? Lu Ming's cultivation was 2 levels lower and this was his biggest weakness. Brat, hand over the Life Spirit Source Stone and the cultivation technique you cultivate. Otherwise, I'll throw you into the abyss and let you die without a burial, Murong Qiu Shui coldly shouted. If you want to make a move, then make your move. Stop wasting words. Lu Ming coldly said. You're seeking death. Murong Qiu Shui angrily roared, but he still hesitated. If he threw Lu Ming into the abyss, he wouldn't be able to obtain anything. But at this time, Lu Ming suddenly hit a flying dagger with his spear and there was a loud explosion. Lu Ming's body shook and he was sent flying above the abyss. When Lu Ming flew above the abyss, there was a powerful force that swept over Lu Ming and directly pulled Lu Ming into the abyss. No, damn it. Murong Qiu Shui angrily roared as he watched Lu Ming fall into the abyss and disappear. He wasn't worried about Lu Ming's safety, but rather he couldn't obtain the Life Spirit Source Stone and cultivation technique from Lu Ming. This made him very angry. At this moment, he hated Lu Ming to the bone. If he wanted to die, then he should have died. Why didn't he give him the Life Spirit Source Stone and cultivation technique? Chapter 3456. No matter, the Life Soul Source Stone fragments are peerless treasures, a trivial demon Azura's flame can't destroy them. You go and fight for the primordial divine spirit's blood first. I'll think of a way to let you enter the demon Azura's flame and obtain the other party's Life Soul Source Stone fragment. A voice came from Murong Qiu Shui's body. This voice came from the Life Soul Source Stone spirit in his body. Alright, we can only do this for now. Murong Qiu Shui nodded. His face was gloomy as killing intent flickered. Then he stepped onto the stone bridge and left this place. Lu Ming was swept away by a power and couldn't help falling into the abyss. Immediately, the demon Azura's flame enveloped him, causing intense pain to come from Lu Ming's body, as if he was being torn apart. Bone Demon, the fire is burning your butt, quickly block the demon Azura's flame. Lu Ming quickly sent a voice transmission to Bone Demon. No rush, the demon Azura's flame has a very good tempering effect on the divine body and soul. Your primordial divine body has been improving too quickly during this time, so it's a good time to polish it. At the same time, it's also beneficial to your soul, increasing its strength. Bone Demon's voice came out. Lu Ming was speechless, he could only grit his teeth and endure. Soon, the demon Azura's flame enveloped Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's flame seeped into Lu Ming's body and even into Lu Ming's soul. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and opened the frightening feather painting, allowing the demon Azura's flame to envelop his soul. Zzz suddenly, there was the sound of barbecuing. Lu Ming took in a cold breath. It was too painful. Lu Ming almost roared out. Luckily, Lu Ming held back in the end. Soon, Lu Ming fell to the bottom of the abyss. More and more demon Azura's flame gathered around Lu Ming, becoming denser and denser. Lu Ming's body began to emit a burnt smell. Bone demon, I can't take it anymore. The flames are too strong. If this continues, I'll be burned to ashes. Lu Ming shouted. The demon Azura's flame was too strong, it exceeded the range he could resist. Let me. Bone Devil's voice came out, and then it flew out from Lu Ming's forehead. His entire body was made up of pitch-black bones. At this moment, there seemed to be an attractive force. The surrounding Mo Luo's fire was constantly gathering towards the bone demon's body. The Mo Luo's fire enveloping Lu Ming's body naturally became much fainter. Finally, it was within Lu Ming's tolerance range. Lu Ming breathed a sigh of relief and silently endured the test of Mara's fire. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Lu Ming felt that many impurities had been burned out of his god body. His body had become much purer. The biggest change was in his soul. At this moment, Lu Ming's soul was radiant. It was at least twice as strong as before. In just 3 short days, his soul had improved so much. The effects were truly astonishing. But as time went on, the effect became worse and worse, as if his soul had already gotten used to the burning of the fire of Mara. With the improvement of his soul, Lu Ming felt his mind become much clearer. Even his perception seemed to have improved. The soul was the foundation of a person. It's been 3 days, it's about time. Any later and this opportunity will be snatched away by others, Lu Ming said to Bone Devil. In these 3 days, Bone Devil had absorbed a large amount of Azura flames. The Azura flames in this abyss were almost completely absorbed by Bone Devil. At least 80% of it had been absorbed. Bone Devil had undergone a great change. His bones had become smoother and brighter, looking very solid. Especially in his eye sockets, there were 2 balls of flames dancing like 2 small suns. Obviously, Bone Devil's harvest this time was great. Good, let's go. There seems to be a passage in front, Bone Devil said. Then, he turned into a ray of light and flew back into Lu Ming's forehead, hiding in the frightening feather painting. Lu Ming walked towards one side of the abyss. Soon, he saw a wall. Under the wall, there was a cave. It was a passage. Lu Ming stepped into the passage. Strangely enough, when Lu Ming stepped into the passage, the Azura flames completely disappeared. It had been isolated by some kind of energy. Lu Ming increased his speed and rushed along the passage. Careful. Bone Devil suddenly warned him. At the same time, Lu Ming also felt a powerful pressure coming from the side. At the same time, he heard a fierce whistling sound. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he retreated. With a bang, a sword slashed at the place where Lu Ming had just stepped. Boom. Following that, a 3-meter-tall figure appeared not far from Lu Ming. A puppet. Lu Ming's gaze changed. This was clearly a puppet made of bronze. It held a bronze sword and coldly stared at Lu Ming. Boom. Boom. Following that, more and more bronze puppets appeared on both sides of the passage. They seemed to have directly charged out of the passage's walls. There were a total of 18 of them, and they coldly stared at Lu Ming. Come. Lu Ming clenched his hand, and the tyrant god spear appeared. At the same time, he activated the battle art. As if sensing Lu Ming's battle intent, 2 of the bronze puppets took a step forward. The ground rumbled, and their 3-meter-tall figures charged at Lu Ming. Their 2-meter-long bronze swords slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming brandished the tyrant god spear and swept it out, colliding with the 2 bronze swords. Buzz! The tyrant god spear violently vibrated, and Lu Ming felt a terrifying energy charge at him. Lu Ming couldn't help retreating 2 steps. It's so strong. Lu Ming's face changed. The strength of the 2 bronze puppets was shockingly strong. Without a doubt, they were peak divine kings. However, their strength was so strong that an ordinary peak divine king would probably be killed in one strike. Swoosh. After the 2 bronze puppets repelled Lu Ming, they didn't stop attacking and continued to charge at Lu Ming. Fortunately, the passage wasn't big. At most, there could only be 3 or 4 bronze puppets attacking at the same time. However, there was a huge problem for Lu Ming, and that was that he couldn't use his ancient god body. The passage here was at most 10 meters tall, and his ancient god body couldn't be used at all. If he really used it, he would probably be squeezed to death. With a boom, Lu Ming's aura became stronger. He successfully activated the battle art. His strength increased by 5 times, and he swung his spear twice, clashing with the bronze swords. However, this time, Lu Ming didn't retreat and successfully blocked the attacks of the 2 bronze puppets. Following that, Lu Ming launched a counterattack. The tyrant god spear vibrated, and a long spear river appeared, enveloping the 2 bronze puppets. Countless small spear lights bombarded the bronze puppets, but something happened that made Lu Ming's face change. Those spear lights bombarded the bronze puppets' bodies, producing clanking sounds, but the bronze puppets were unharmed. They didn't break through the defense. What a shocking defense! Lu Ming frowned. At this moment, it seemed that the 2 bronze puppets had fallen below, and another 2 bronze puppets charged over. A total of 4 bronze puppets waved their bronze swords, splitting the long spear river. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.